My name is Dave and I'm with the Zoho BackToWork product support. And in this video, I'll be explaining you about the functionalities and the concepts and the things that the BackToWork app is capable of. And I will also be demonstrating, a basic configuration to help you to implement this in your organization. So the question that I asked at the first is, are you all doing well? So I hope everyone are doing well, of course. But then, as Ali or Ala were talking, we are actually doing well, but then we have to make certain adjustments in our life due to this pandemic. So it's not going to be the same when we, walk into our office or outside in the streets after this post-pandemic situation. So it has changed a lot. So the world has changed a lot, and that we have to accustom ourselves to this environment and get prepared of ourselves to make sure that we don't get affected due to this virus at any cost, right? So why do we actually need this app? So I was just checking on the polls over here, and I was able to see that most people are managing this using a spreadsheet. Of course, yeah. Well, it's a choice or an opinion on how you actually maintain this, right? But then app is going to make your company use this, manage your facility in a better and a smarter way. So in this application, we have some kind of approval process on how to get a safe entry to be requested by employer or visitor. And once that has been requested, we can check their wellness, and the administrator or the approver will have the option to approve their entry or deselect it and so on. So without any further ado, let me go and explain you what the app is all about. So BackToWork is simple yet a powerful app which can be used to make the transition from work from home setup to work from office setup easily. And this system is built upon Zoho Creator, our own custom app building software, which is powerful enough to create its own CRM, right? So we actually build this understanding your needs, and we have included the employee safety, compliance guidelines, effective communications, and asset management over here. So BackToWork is a ready-to application built with pre-built functionalities, which can be easily implemented for various businesses. Being a cloud-based application, setting this up is easy, effortless, secure, and most importantly, it's affordable. So these are the basic modules that we have in the application. So the first one is the admin control center, wellness module, safe entry module, employee service module, communications module, and volunteer module. So I will be demonstrating this application I'll be demonstrating this application without any slides, so that we get the flow of how the actual application is being set up. So talking about the application, this is the admin home, and currently I'm logged in as myself, Dave, and I'm the super administrator for this application, right? So I do have multiple employee logins, so that I will be able to show you how it looks from their perspective as well. So these are the important modules that I explained in the previous setup. So the first one is going to be the workplace setup. And before I go ahead and show you that, you can see that these modules are being embedded here as quick links. So this will help the admin to actually manage these things effectively. So the admin will be logging onto this application, and he'll be able to see the workplace setup, employee setup, wellness, and so on. So he can click on any of the module that he needs to manage and can do it effectively. So if it's going to be a spreadsheet, he needs to open that spreadsheet file, access that specific column and make a change. But when I'm going to use it in an application, it's going to be pretty much simple, right? So let me start off with the basic setup. So this is the admin home, as I explained, and I can set up my organization name over here at this left top corner. So currently I've set it as Zoho. Let me come back, and I'm going to the workplace setup, which is the first module. So in the workplace setup, we have options to create branches or buildings. So every organization might have different branches located in different locations. So as we see here, we have branches in Chennai, Placenton, and Tenkasi, and so on. So these are the branches, and I will be able to add a branch by clicking on the add option over here, enter the branch name, and select the modules. So apart from this particular, getting back to work, Like, we also give provision to maintain the asset request, the maintenance request, and so on. So we can also select the modules over here, which I'll be elaborating, explaining it in a bit. So I can select or deselect the module that I need to associate it with this branch and click on add. So once that is added, I have an option to select the building or to associate a building to the branch. So these are the buildings that are associated to different branches. So you can see that the Chennai branch has two buildings. One is the Lakeview and the other one is Tower. So to add a building, I go ahead and click on the add button and I select the branch. So these are the available branches over here. Give a name for the building and so on. And the building status comes very handy if I need to close the operations for one particular building completely. For example, if I feel like a particular building is infected, what I'll do is I will go ahead and manage this particular module and select the option as closed. This will prevent the access entries for employees to that specific building alone, right? And this particular setup also gives the ability to enter the maximum number of employees or visitors allowed into this particular building. So moving on to this, we cannot have a crowded workplace, right? So the administrator or the admin can actually specify the number of employees allowed in a specific building for a specific day. So if I'm going to hit 30 or 20, that much request can be accepted for this particular building. And when I say request, it is the entry request. It can either be an employee or a visitor, which can be separately mentioned over here, right? And we also have options to handle the safe entry. So for both the visitor and the employee as well. So it can either be done by a front desk staff or using a kiosk. So front desk staff is nothing but having a person physically present in the front desk and to verify your entry and then send you into the organization. But if you want furthermore automations, we do have the kiosk wherein you can make use of a phone or a tablet that can be used as a dedicated kiosk placed on your front desk. So what happens is when once the approve is being done for that specific employee or the visitor, he walks to the front desk and there will be a scanner that will be opened on the kiosk and he will be showing the QR code and the check-in will be done automatically. So these are the two types of things, and I will be showing on how the safe entry is being handled by both the kiosk and the front desk staff in a while. Okay. So you can ask me how the application is going to be different when it's going to be for a kiosk. So it's going to be pretty simple. So if I'm going to click on the kiosk, it is going to ask me for a dedicated email address. So when I'm going to put an email address over here and download my application BackToWork, which is available for iOS and Android on my device, that's going to open up the specific application that will show just the QR code scanner and nothing else, right? So that's about the buildings. So let me come back and go to the next one module, which is wellness setup. So this module consists of industry approved surveys that would help allow employees to perform self-assessments, which helps the admin oversee organization-wide health information. So under wellness setup, we have three modules, sub-modules, which are self-assessment policy, safe entry policy, and travel policy. So before I show you or explain you the self-assessment policy, let me show you a form, okay? It's a self-assessment form which has to be filled by an employee or a visitor in order to know their wellness factor score, upon which we can decide if the entry is to be approved or rejected, okay? So I'm going to switch myself as one of the employee. So this is the employee dashboard, and now I'm logged in as James. So I'm going to the wellness and clicking on the self-assessment. So this is the self-assessment form, right? So these are the basic questions that will be asked before you are going to even enter or raise a request to enter the premises. So for example, here are the few questions like, have you been ever tested for COVID-19? Or do you live with people under the age of 5 or above 60? So if I'm going to answer these questions holds a backend score for each and every question that you see here. So we will correlate the score and there will be an average score upon which the admin will be, the system will be able to decide whether to approve this particular person or not. Okay. So let me navigate to my admin. So I'm logged in back as the super admin. So let me explain you the self-assessment policy. So once I come back to the self-assessment policy, we can specify date on which the frequency has to be, repeated. So there might be cases wherein, your workplace might be in a contaminated zone, or it is in a green zone, which is free from corona. But still, we have a fear that, the person who is going to travel from another place might be in a difficult situation, and we might not know what's happening with them, right? So in that specific cases, what we do is we actually set a frequency to repeat this particular policy back and forth. So I, as of now, I have set the frequency for 3 days. So each and every for once in 3 days, an employee or a visitor who is going to enter the premises will be asked to submit the self-assessment form. So the same set of questions will be asked to the person, and upon their score, we will be validating it and approving their first step of a request that is to be raised for entering the premises, right? So that's about the self-assessment policy. So the next is going to be the safe entry policy. So this sub module consists of certain questions or certain things that are to be configured to ensure that the entry for the specific person is going to be secured. So the thing here is we can mandate if the self-assessment is to be done each and every time the person is going to check into the office, right? And we can also associate the number of self-assessments that are to be associated to a check-in. So I can have it on each day of entry, or I can have it based on the self-assessment frequency itself. And we have also one more option, that is to restrict the entry of employees or visitors who are actually traveling by public transport or through carpooling, because there are a lot of chances that these people might be infected, right? So if I'm going to check this, and in my self-assessment form, or in my safe entry form, if I'm going to give the option as I'm traveling through a public transport or carpooling, their request will be automatically rejected, and they will not be able to submit their safe entry request to enter the premises at all. And we also have the option to allow employees or visitors to raise a request after their recovery, right? So here I have set it as a 10 weeks that can be customizable. And I was talking about the score, right? So as you can see here, once the employee or a visitor submit this form, there will be a score calculated at the back end. So each and every question has its own value, and correlating the score, if consider that the employee or the visitor gets a total of 17, they will be eligible to raise a request. And again, this can be monitored and managed by administrators. So based on their company's policy or requirement, they can either move it to a higher score, or reduce it, or so on. So the next one is going to be the travel policy. So we can actually restrict the employees who have actually traveled recently. So if I'm going to click the option yes, we can mention the number of weeks to which we need to restrict the travel, restrict employees who have recently traveled, right? So that's about the self-assessment policy. And moving on to the next one, I will show you the employee setup first, okay? So the employee setup helps the admin to manage the employees based on their roles. So you could see that I have added multiple employees based on their email IDs over here. So do not consider these are all test accounts that have been added. But if there is an organization in real time, you can actually add your organization users over here. So there are multiple roles, as you can see here. So employees can be added by clicking on the plus symbol at the top right corner. And once we click on this, a basic form will be open to collect the information that is basic and the work-related information. So this not just actually gets the email address and the employee name, but we can also specify the employee ID, their phone number, and their work extension. And we can also choose the branch that the employee is associated to, right? And we can also choose the role. So for example, these are the roles that we have by default. And if I'm going to choose the role as staff, I have an option to select what type of staff is going to be. So as I was explaining earlier, there are few modules apart from not just being defined with this particular back to work COVID stuff, but then we can also maintain the maintenance request, or we can also have some service agents or front desk staff and so on, right? So we can specify what type of staff the specific employee is going to be over here. And we can also mark a specific employee as an emergency contact for a specific module. So if I'm going to click yes, we can select the type of emergency contact he is going to be. So this comes very handy when I'm going to navigate to an employee dashboard. You can see that Tim here is an emergency contact for safety and security, so that will be listed in the employee dashboard form, right? So it's not just we are limiting it to adding the employee details manually, but we can also import the data. So we can import the data from a file like an Excel sheet, or you can also, if you're using Zoho People, you can actually integrate and get the employee information directly to the uh, Zoho BackToWork app. And we also do integration with Zoho Directory and third-party services such as Bamboo HR, Active Directory, and so on. So I don't want to get into detail on that, but if you would like to know more on that, you can click on the question mark here, go to the learn more, and here you have the detailed explanation of how it's all going to be done, right? And talking about the help, each and every module in this particular application has this question mark, which is help, and this will help to you to get to know about that specific module and the terminologies that are being used if in case you need it. Okay. So I have specified employees of different roles over here. So let me go to the next module, which is going to be the approval setup. Yeah. So once the employees are added, we can configure the approval setup section where we can manage the approvals of safe entry for both employees, visitor, and asset. So for asset and maintenance request, we get to decide if the request is to be assigned by a manager or an admin, or if the staff assigned to a specific role could pick it up by themselves. So I'll demonstrate how this works in the upcoming topics. So coming back to the employee setup, yeah, as I said, I have added the employees of different roles. So now I'll show you how an employee is going to, submit a self-assessment request, and how that's been validated and approved by an approver, and how he's going to check in through the front desk staff, and also by using a kiosk, right? Okay. So let me log in as one of the employee. Let's say, okay, I log in as an employee. So first of all, I need to submit the self-assessment form. So I'll give no for everything. So I declare that all the information has been true and hit submit. So the self-assessment has been done today, September 2nd. And I'm going to raise a safe entry request. That is, James is requesting to enter the premises, right? So let's say he's going to request the branch Chennai, and let's say he's going to enter the building Lakeview. And if I'm going to select the mode of transportation as public or carpooling, the request will be automatically rejected, right? So I will be choosing the option private. So I'll select the dates for today and hit submit. So the entry is now added over here, right? Okay. So now I need to log in as an approver to approve this request. Let's say I log in as approver, and my approver here is Lisa. So now I'm logged in as Lisa. So I'm going to the employee safe entry and approvals. So we have James' request over here, which can either be approved or rejected by Lisa. So she's going to approve. Let me add some comment. So the request is now being approved. Let me come back to James login and refresh. You could see that James' request is being approved, and the entry status is yet to check in, and the approver was Lisa, right? So now let me log in as a front desk staff. First of all, let me show you. Okay, so the building that James has requested to enter is Lakeview, right? So let's see how the safe entry is being handled for the building Lakeview. Go to the Lakeview, and okay, the employee safe entry is being handled by a front desk staff, a branch manager, or an admin, right? So let me log in as a front desk staff right now. So let's see who is the front desk staff here. Okay, Rachel, I believe, is the front desk staff. So let me log in as Rachel. Okay, so I'm going to the employee safe entry, and you could see that there is a check-in checkout option under employee self entry safe entry for Rachel. So when I click on that, we have James request over here for 2nd of September 2020, and the status is yet to check in. So as we have Rachel who's going to manually check in the employee, so she has an option to add a temperature using a thermal scanner, and she can record the temperature, let's say 94, which is a safe one. So a temperature is added, and now she's going to check in James, right? And again, once James is going to walk out from the office, she can check him out by using the option over here, right? So this is how we check in employees using by a front desk staff. Let's see how this is done using a kiosk. Now I'll log in as another employee. Let's say John, and I will raise a safe entry request. So you can see that I got an alert message. So as I have set the frequency for 3 days, and it started from yesterday, John has not submitted a self-assessment earlier. So it is required to first, submit a self-assessment before he goes ahead and submits a safe entry request to enter the premises. So let us do it first. So click on the options, submit. So that's done. So now John should be able to raise a safe entry request. So I'll select the building as tower, which has the kiosk option. And I'm going to choose the transportation mode as private, as I don't want my request to be rejected. And I'll set the dates for today and hit submit. Yes, so the request is now being submitted, and the status is now pending, as you can see here. So again, we need to log in as Lisa, who has the approval. So let me refresh this. So we got John's request over here to enter the building, and I'm going to approve it. And that's done. So now I'll come back to John's login, and let me refresh. And now you could see that for the entry date September 2, it's approved, and you can also see a QR code. So when I click on that, a QR code will be shown. So John will carry this on his mobile phone, Like we have a dedicated app for Android and iOS, right? So John will be using his mobile phone to carry this particular QR code, and he will flash it on the scanner. That's a kiosk that is being placed on the front desk, right? So once he checks in, it will actually checks him in, and he's good to go. So that's how we automate the process using a kiosk. So this is about the safe entry, and the same applies for visitors as well. But one catch here is that a visitors doesn't actually have the need to operate this particular application, right? So once a visitor is being added, let's say for a visitor entry, so John is going to raise a request on behalf of a visitor. So once the details are being given, and the email will be sent to that specific person, and the self assessment will be taken care over the email and in the form itself, and they will be able to raise a request for entering the premises, and the approval will be done as we do in the application, right? So let me come back to this, and let's move on to the next, which is the asset request. So let's say John needs to raise an asset request. Okay. So this was what I was talking about. So it's not just related only to the entry, but we can also manage and maintain other modules in the organization, which are actually required for all the organizations, I believe. So let me select the request type as new, and asset type as monitor, and I need it by tomorrow, September 3rd. Need an external. So that's been added and it's pending, right? So again, this has to be approved. So let's see how it's done. I will log in as the applications admin. I go to the asset request, go to the approvals tab, and I see John's request over here. So Tim, who's the admin for the application, can either approve or reject. So once he clicks on approve, this request is approved. But then uh, the request can either be handled by the staff themselves or can be assigned by a manager. So in this case, we have selected the option to be assigned by the manager, right? So consider a scenario wherein there are multiple staff in the asset management department, and the manager has the ability to assign the task to that specific person who is in that shift or so. So I come to the request assignment tab, and I see that there is one request which is unassigned, right? So I can assign a staff over here for this particular request. So let's say the priority to be high and the date is tomorrow, and I can select the staff over here. So if you have more than one staff that is associated to the asset management, they all will be listed here. As of now, I have only Richard, so I'll select Richard and click on assign. So you can see that this has now been assigned to Richard, right? So now let me go ahead and log in as Richard. Yes, it's staff 2. Let's know that. Yeah. So this is Richard's login. And if I click on the option assign to me, you could see the request over here. So once Richard has delivered the monitor to John, he can come here, click on complete task, and enter some notes if there are any. It can either be the information about the serial number of the monitor and so on. And he can also take a picture of the condition on how the monitor was being delivered. If it is going to be a new one, you can just take a picture of that, upload it, and add some notes and hit submit. So that's done, right? So you can see that it is under the completed section. Likewise, we can also have maintenance request raised, right? So unlike asset request, we don't need an approver because it is just a maintenance request, and anyone can actually raise it because it's kind of an emergency or so. We need that to be done, and it doesn't need an approval in real time. So let me add a maintenance request. Let me select tower location. I'll select ground floor. Just put a name and submit. So now I have raised a request that is to have the ground floor to be sweep, right? So now I will log in as one of the staff who are associated to the maintenance. So unlike asset management, here the maintenance staff have the ability to pick it up by themselves. So these are the three tasks that are being here, which are unassigned. So Daniel can pick it up by himself. So once I click on the pickup option, the task will be moved to the assign to me section. And again, once the task has been completed, Daniel can take a picture of how clean the place is now, and he can add some notes and hit submit. So that's done. So this is how we actually maintain this application and have different type of employees in different roles to use the application. And apart from this, we also have certain modules like volunteer modules and so on. Let me explain you that as well. Let me go to Soprano login. And before I go ahead with that, we actually saw that there were some assets, right? So for example, we will be able to add some more options to the assets. So for example, so if I go to the asset setup, these are the active assets that are in place right now, but it depends upon the company, right? So you might be requiring, assets that are required for the employees to work, right? So you can actually add them if you need over here, right? And you can also choose or add any extra type of asset type that you need over here. So likewise, we have visitors coming to visit us, right? So these are the predefined options that are provided. It can either be a client visit, interview, or repair and maintenance. But if there are any other choices that you need to add over here for a visitor entry, you can add it over here, right? So the next module is going to be the volunteer setup. So we have provisions to create volunteer programs. So once a program is added, it will be available for all employees to register themselves. This can also be limited to a specific branch as well. So over here, I have a blood donation camp that was being submitted on August 18th, right? So for example, I click on that and change the date as for September 5th. And I'm selecting the option as program conducted in all branches, but I can also have it conducted to a particular branch, like let's say Chennai alone, and I update it. So if I'm going to log in as one of the employee, and go to the employee home, you have an option that says current programs. So clicking on that will show you the blood donation camp. And if the employee is interested, he can just click on opt-in and that will be added. So this is the volunteer program. And apart from this, the app also helps the employees to keep themselves updated on what's surrounding them. And this can be configured under the communication setup. So let me go back to the communication setup. So as you can see here, these are the available options. So it can either be announcements, best practices, policies, uh, safe safety documents, frequently asked questions, and so on. Right. So this model helps companies' HR team to communicate with employees in a better way rather than sending emails or maintaining a bulletin board. To provide admin a better visibility, there are dashboards present here. So these are the dashboards that are predefined or pre-built. So if you would like to check the wellness factor score for each and every building or a branch, that's possible to check in over here. So we haven't added any kind of safe assessment for the other two branches. So we don't have it for there. But you can actually, the admin can oversee this and can compare the wellness factor score for different branches. And there is a dashboard that is exclusively built to manage or get to know about the safe entry that are being requested, how many people are checked in, checked out, and the wellness factor score, and so on. And this is available exclusively for each and every branch, so it can be navigated by the tab over here at the top. Again, we have a dashboard for assets, so this will help the asset management manager to see how many assets are being provided, how much are closed, how much are raised, and the priority that are being given to, and so on. Same goes for the maintenance as well. And the volunteer programs that are in place will also be shown here. So that's about the application as such. And one important thing that I need to explain you is the updates. So the back to work application as such, as of now, is an application that is going to be available as a pre-built application. But then we are actually pushing a lot of updates then and there based on some request, or if we feel that this specific enhancement might be useful for the end users. So you can actually check them over here. Click on the update option over here. It'll check for updates and install it automatically, right? And as I mentioned earlier, back to work is applicable. I mean, is available in both iOS and Android platforms. So it would be much more easier to access it on a mobile phone and see, as the interface will be completely different. So that's about it. So I hope this basic demo has given you an idea of what the application is capable of. So do try it out, and in case of any queries, feel free to write to us at support@zohobacktowork.com. So with powerful tools and effective methods, let's fight this virus and get back to work safe and healthy.